The study of biology, something that is incredibly cool and also not cool at the same exact time. On the dorky, boring side of the coin, you have things like the Punnett square and trying to make school children memorize every part of a cell for some goddamn reason. I've never used that information once in my life. But on the cool, fun side of the coin, you have things like discovering cool new animals or discovering what kind of poison kills humans the fastest. But most people are unaware of the secret, darker, third side of the common coin. And in this fourth dimensional plane, we find the dark arts of the biology world. I am, of course, referring to the study of cryptozoology. If you don't know, cryptozoology is the study of cryptids, which by definition are animals whose existence are still unproven by science. Which, stay with me for a little bit. These are creatures like the Yeti, or the Loch Ness Monster, or my girlfriend who goes to another school. You definitely don't know her, but she definitely exists. And this study of cryptozoology is often referred to as not good and bad by nerds who think you need things like evidence and repeatable studies. It's often lumped in with things like UFOology or ghostology, two things that are super cool, so I don't know why it's such a big deal. Let me tell you dork asses in lab coats something, okay? Scientists discover 18,000 new species every year. Every year they do that. And yeah, most of the time it's like a new tiny beetle or a new brand of kelp in the ocean, but who's to say the next one isn't gonna be the fabled bat boy? America has one of the most diverse climates on Earth. You poke around a little bit and you're bound to find something freaky. And that's exactly what I did. Today we're gonna be taking American cryptids and breaking them down and organizing them on criteria that I have made up on the spot. Because this kind of deep web hearsay nonsense is the kind of stuff that makes certain body parts of mine stand up like the national anthem is playing. That was graphic, but we're getting into the video. So let me just give you a brief synopsis about what we're about to talk about so then you're not super confused when I bring up something like the Mothman. So many cryptids studied in cryptozoology come from things like folklore or stories from centuries past. But in 1995, cryptids got a little bit more real because a zoologist named Bernard Heuvelmans, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, published a book called On the Track of Unknown Animals, which is such a goddamn cool name for a science book. And then in around the same time period, another zoologist named Ivan T. Sanderson wrote a whole book on the abominable snowman, and that kind of laid the foundation of cryptozoology. And even though cryptozoology is pretty much just a hot cocktail of 20th century rumors and myths, because of the internet, it is now arguably more popular than it ever has been before. And if at this point in the video you're still like, Tucker, that's stupid, I'm not gonna watch this, then you can leave. But I have one thing to leave for you before we get into all the animals I'm about to talk about. Did you know sometimes cryptids become real? Did you know they're proven to be real sometimes? At one point, giant pandas, megamouth sharks, and Komodo dragons were all thought to be cryptozoology bullshit. They didn't think they were real. And then they found them and brought their corpses back to science labs, and now they're proven to be real. And those people who said they weren't real kind of look stupid. So, you know, I'm not saying you're stupid, but you kind of look like it. So maybe be allowed to swallow some new information before we get into this next segment, because these next segments are going to be a lot of confusing information, but just have fun. Just sit down and have fun. So obviously I'm going to categorize each separate group of cryptids into things that make me feel a certain type of way. Some cryptids are spooky, some are goofy, some make me a little horny. We'll get into that later. So first up, we're going to talk about American cryptids that I feel bad for because their descriptions are so sad that I feel like God was mad at them when they were invented. Up first, we have the Michigan Dogman. Now, not only does he have the mean nickname Dogman, but he's also from Michigan, so he can't win. In 1887, two lumberjacks in Michigan spotted a creature with a human torso and a canine's head. He was described as 7 feet tall and had eyes of amber, which sounds more romantic than scary, but I guess if you're a lumberjack, you don't get turned on that easy. So naturally, they called him the Michigan Dogman, which I don't know. People were lazier back then. I think I would probably come up with a cooler name than that, but then I'd get called a furry, so I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. But apparently the story goes, when the two guys walked up on this fucked up creature, it just started screaming at them. When he howled, apparently it sounded like a human scream, but are we sure that they just didn't walk up on one of the ugliest dudes ever and the guy got scared and screamed at them? That kind of sounds like what this story is. But legend has it, it appears once every 10 years. So if anyone is in the furry community and wants to have a chance, not finishing that thought. Up next, we have the Slide Rock Bolter, which sounds like a really fun roller coaster, but it is not. It's a horrible creature. According to legend, although the website I got this from is confident it was real, in the early 20th century, there was a thing called the Slide Rock Bolter that meandered around Colorado and was pretty much a land whale, a whale that walked around on land. According to first-hand accounts that are definitely real, it was the size of an entire hill, which is not a good descriptor. Hills vary in size. It had a massive head, small eyes, sharp teeth, and had hand-like hooks at the end of its flippers. It would lie in wait above eyesight with its hooks attached to the trees, and I don't know how you would miss it, because it's a whale sitting in a tree. But once it decided to make you its victim and you're walking at the bottom of a hill, it would detach from trees and just slide down the hill, crushing everything in its path. So it didn't really use its teeth. It would just squish you like a marshmallow. It would then use its momentum from crushing you to slide up another hill, and the pattern would repeat in a valley-like system. And you might be thinking, Tucker, how was it able to slide down hills so loosely? Well, it's because of its drool. It would drool a lot, and they would use that as frictionless lube to slide down a hill. I don't know. I don't want to think about this. Apparently, entire parties of tourists were getting eaten by this thing in the early 20th century. And once again, people, they make it seem like this was real. No way this is real. I feel like I would have read about it in a history book. Legend has it that it was defeated by a park ranger in the San Juan Mountains that eventually tricked the beast into attacking a fake tourist filled with explosives. And the blast was so powerful that it leveled half the buildings in the small town of Rico. And that seems like a government cover-up. It seems like a really bad government cover-up, so they definitely let an explosion go off that was not supposed to happen. But now we have a funny story about it. And I feel bad for this thing because it's ugly and covered in drool. I don't think I have to explain that one. Number 3, we have the Loveland Frogman. Now, it's kind of the same vibe as the Dogman. Let's just put up an artist rendition of the Frogman so we all know why I feel bad about it. It's just a big bipedal frog, pretty much. 4 feet tall bipedal frog that has been spotted in Loveland, Ohio several times since 1955. It was first seen by a businessman who was traveling to Ohio, and he said, and this is not a joke, it had a wand that emitted sparks. So he's a wizard frogman, a wizard! In 1972, 2 police officers witnessed the frogman cross the road and climb over a guardrail towards the river, which is so funny to me, because he's a frog. Why is he like lazily lumbering, like just trying to get a leg over the guardrail? I just think that's a funny visual. And then the Frogman Trail ran cold until 2016, where 2 teens were playing Pokemon Go and they spotted the Frogman. Now that might have been a mind when you're looking for Pokemon and you kind of find a real one. And actually, they got some grainy footage of the so we're gonna watch that right now. I think that's believable. I don't know about you. I feel bad for him because he's obviously just a dude. He's just, if he's real, he's just a frog guy. He's not a threat. He doesn't hurt anybody. He's just trying to walk around and people keep taking pictures of him. And if I was a frogman, I'd probably want to have a private life personally. So I feel bad for him. And then we have the hodag, which is a little bit scarier than the other ones, but it's got a cool name, the hodag. It sounds like a really good barbecue dish to me. Once again, lumberjacks started this rumor in the 1890s. This one has a lot of descriptors, so I'm just going to go through the list. A dragon-bodied creature with the head of a frog, large tusks, a horn of a bison, the grinning face of an elephant, short legs with huge claws, a spiny back, a long tail with spears at the end, and a smell like buzzard meat mixed with skunk perfume. So I feel like they're just being mean to whatever the fuck this thing is. Local newspapers at the time started like writing about this cryptid and pretending like it was real. Newspapers, I'm gonna make a video about this at one point. If you were a newspaper man in like the early 20th century, people were just making shit up. All the time. If you had no news that day, talk about a horrible creature that might live near you. Whatever. But actually, at one point in history, a hodag was claimed to have been captured and was displayed at the Oneida County Fair. Now, if you're ever curious about something scientific, go to your local county fair. They'll have an answer for you. News of the creatures spread, and once again, national newspapers reported on it, because what are you gonna do? It's 1891, and you have nothing better. This got the attention of Smithsonian scientists, that's very hard to say, and they were like, yo, what's going on over here? Let's take a gander. And then the guy who brought the thing to the county fair immediately admitted this was a hoax. I don't know what a hodag is, and I just put a bunch of weird animal body parts together. That's what the hodag was. It was just a bunch of corpses. Personally, I just love this fable because obviously it was a bunch of like just lumberjacks telling stories and they were just one-upping each other. Like someone was like, it's got the body of a dragon, or it's like, or I think it's got tusks, and the other guy was like, I think it has a horn. And the other guy's like, well, it already has tusks, why would it need a horn? And he's like, shut the fuck up, we're gonna make a hodag. All right, next up we have the cryptids that I don't feel bad for. I want them to leave me alone. I think these guys are too scary to, they scare the shit out of me. These are the gruesome ones. These are the bloodthirsty ones that are rumored to kill and want to eat children a lot of the time. Very children-based, most of these. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. We're gonna talk them over and then you tell me if you can sleep or not in the comments. I'm not comment baiting, but I can't sleep and I wanna know if someone else is suffering with me. Up first, we have the Wampus cat, which sounds adorable. I wish I named my cat Wampus. That's a great name for a cat. Apparently this cryptid lives in the Appalachian Mountains, and if you know anything about the Appalachian Mountains in America, you know that bad things happen there. You'll just be walking along a trail and a hillbilly with a banjo will pop out and say, don't go wandering in those woods, and you do, and then you get turned inside out by some fucked up creature. And the Wampus cat is one of those creatures. It has roots in Cherokee folklore, so you know they're not fucking around. Half cat, half human, with a little bit of dog thrown in for good measure. It has 6 legs, but only walks on 2 of them, which is a scary ass image. It has large claws and fangs, and it yells out terrible screams when you get near it, and it has these big glowing glowing yellow eyes that if you look into them long enough, you will be devolved into madness. Like a really bad weed panic attack. Once again, we have another newspaper from the early 1900s saying a bunch of nonsense to scare the local townspeople. The Greenville Sun claimed it was roaming around their town. It said there was a beast walking around their town for fun, I guess. And since then, the Wampus Cat has been cited numerous times in the 20th century, from Appalachia to Texas, often blamed for killing livestock, like an unexplained goat is torn open. That was the Wampus Cat. The only reason I'm really scared of this thing is, one, because the eyes, that scares me, but also I own a cat. And if my cat was a little bit bigger, it would have killed me by now. So the fact that there's a thing with 6 legs, just not worth my time, honestly. Next up, we have a personal favorite of mine, which is the Mothman. If you haven't read my shirt yet, you should take the time to do so now. The first recording sighting of the Mothman happened in West Virginia in 1966. A bunch of guys were digging a grave in a cemetery, and they all looked up, and there was the Mothman. Imagine seeing the Mothman. Let me describe what the Mothman looks like. 7 feet tall, large, dusty wings, and bright red glowing eyes. And it was flying above them. 3 nights later, a cute couple was driving down a highway and the Mothman chased them up to 100 miles per hour and it wasn't even breaking a sweat. Newspapers started reporting on this thing, and over the course of several years, over 100 sightings of the Mothman happened in West Virginia. And like any good American cryptid, anytime someone saw this thing, Men in Black would show up at their house and say, don't talk about it, this is real serious shit. And then weirdly, in 1967, the Mothman stopped visiting after a bridge collapsed in West Virginia. It killed over 46 people, and people believe that the Mothman shows up when there's like a bad thing about to happen. Like he's an omen. He's kind of chill like that. And since then, whenever there is a Mothman reporting, it happens right before something terrible happens. Mine collapsing, nuclear meltdowns, terrorist attacks, the Mothman is there. The Mothman is there for us in those moments of need, which is exactly why I would start crying if I saw him. Not only because that's horrifying, but also because I know that I'm probably going to get arrested for tax evasion or something if the Mothman shows up. Something bad is going to happen. Next up, we have the Dover Demon, something that I'm proud of. Go Massachusetts, go Woosok. 1977, 3 teenagers are hanging out in Dover, Massachusetts when they all independently said they saw the Dover Demon. Initially, they all said they thought it was a dog or a cat crawling along one of those weird stone walls you see in Massachusetts all the time, like we just finished the Civil War. Then they got closer to it, and it wasn't a cat or a dog. It was something much more awful and horrible, let me tell you. A humanoid, 3 or 4 feet in length, with a gray, hairless body. Its head was large and watermelon-shaped, with no eyelids and glassy orange eyes. So it's not a gray alien, it has orange eyes. So it's different. It had no nose or mouth and long, tendril-like fingers. Whew, imagine that thing clicking the back of your neck. The creepiest part about the Dover Demon is that all 3 of them, they weren't hanging out. I don't know if I explained that right, but there were 3 independent teens that all saw this thing, and all of their accounts were remarkably similar. It was in the 70s over a span of 2 days, so it wasn't just all once at night. I definitely fucked up explaining this. People have a lot of different explanations for these things, like some people say it's an alien, some people say it was probably a moose calf, because moose calves kind of look like that, I guess. I've never seen a moose calf. And a lot of cryptozoologists say, oh, it's not a real cryptid because it's probably an alien, but fuck that. I love Massachusetts and I'm going to talk about it. And then finally we have the Fresno Nightcrawler, which this one's a recent one, and this one I remember seeing a video of it when I was a kid on YouTube, and I can't stand this thing. 2007, a Fresno, California resident set up security cameras to figure out what was making his dogs bark at night. But instead of squirrels or angsty teens just throwing rocks at his house, he found something much more horrific. In grainy webcam footage are 2 4-foot-long pairs of legs, skinny legs, that walked across his yard as if they were being puppeted by something much bigger up in the sky. And I think there's like a head floating above it. It's just, I'm gonna play a video of it. Since the initial sighting, it's also been seen in Yosemite National Park, Montana, and Poland, so these things get around. And I don't know why it scares me so much, because it's pretty much just walking pants. Like, have you ever seen that Jimmy Neutron episode where he starched his pants too hard? It's pretty much just sentient pants, and I don't know how that could hurt me, but I know it's gonna hurt me if it touches me. Or that Brian David Gilbert Jorts video, like when his pants are standing next to his bed and they run down the hall or whatever the fuck. That's what I imagine these pants are gonna do to me. I don't want to deal with that. Alright, so this part's gonna get a little weird. I thought it'd be funny. Some of these things turn me on. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna be listing some cryptids that I think have some strong sexual energy to them, just on a base level. Up first, we have the Oklahoma octopus. I don't want to explain why this one's horny. It's just a giant octopus that lives in Oklahoma, and it just like populates freshwater lakes all across the state. Its reddish-brown, horse-sized body. I didn't make up that descriptor. I don't want to get into the... Extra long tentacles that can wrap around humans and pull them to the bottom of the ocean, or just feel them up. I might not do this segment. It's been known to drown people, but also it's been known to not do that. I'm just saying, it could embrace you pretty well. I'll move on. Then we have the Jersey Devil. If you know about the Jersey Devil, you're gonna say, Tucker, how the fuck is this thing horny? Let me explain to you. The legend of the Jersey Devil, Fuck. The legend of the Jersey Devil dates back to 1735. A lady kept getting pregnant. Got pregnant 13 times. And when she had the 13th baby, she was like, fuck this. And she cursed the child. She was like, I've had too many babies. I'm cursing this child. I hate it so much. And the baby must have heard her say that, because when it eventually came out of her, it had goat's hooves, a goat's head, bat wings, horns, claws, and a forked tail. So it definitely really fucked her up on the way out. Then the baby just flew out of the window. Like, it looked at its mom and said, nah, I hate you, bitch. And it just flew into the night. Now it's a cultural tradition in Jersey on Mischief Night, which is the night before or after Halloween. I don't remember. But if your kids go out and do that, all that throwing eggs and stuff, though, the parents are like, well, the Jersey Devil might get you. And apparently in 1909, 30 sightings of the New Jersey Devil made it make papers, and then they closed schools the next day. That's kind of real, but I think it's kind of hot because several reasons, actually. One, I've seen a lot of fan art of like hooved creatures that can be hot. People used to make Satan, you know, well, I don't want to get into that. And also, it's got mommy issues, and also it's like, it wasn't well respected. Like, even if it lived in the family with 13 kids, it wasn't getting enough attention. It's gonna be kind of a whore. You know? Moving on. Oh, we have the Bat Squatch. It's like the Bat Squatch is like a Blu-ray. It comes with all the perfect features you would want. It's got yellow eyes, a dog's muzzle, blue fur, sharp teeth, bird feet, and leathery bat wings. I have seen fursonas that are exactly this. Now, I'm not saying this turns me on. I'm saying it's definitely gonna turn certain people on. This is right up some fucking fan fiction alley. First reported in the 80s in Washington State, and it appeared after the eruption of Mount St. Helens, and it was flying around the volcanic activity. So people were like, hey, yo, that's like a volcano demon. Once again, this is fan fiction. Some people think it's a fucked up baby that breathed in a bunch of volcanic ash, and some people think it's an ancient horror come to haunt us all. Since then, it's been flapping its 50-foot wingspan in California, Arizona, and Ohio. But one of the hottest things about the Bat Squatch is it knows its way around an engine. Some of you ladies might enjoy that one. In a 1944 sighting, there was a guy driving his car in Pierce County, and the thing showed up and just stopped its engine. Using its brain or something? I don't know. Kinda hot. I'm stretching on this one, I'll give it to you. And finally, we have the Beast of Bray Road. And I don't read fan fiction or romance novels, but I'm sure if I went to Barnes & Noble to the romance section, I could find a book of this exact title. It is tall, dark, ripped, covered in fur. That's, I mean, what else do you want? Yeah, it spends a lot of its time eating organs out of animal carcasses on the side of the road, but he's a fixer-upper. Most of the sightings came from the 80s and 90s, so if you're looking for that, like, Matthew Lillard vibe, you're gonna get it from him. And a reporter for the Walworth County Week newspaper was assigned to track this thing, and she said all the eyewitness testimony seemed legit. So this thing definitely exists. It's definitely worth banging. I don't have a way to wrap up this video. Cryptids may or may not be real, but I think it's really fun to believe in them, at least a little bit, because what's the point of living if you only believe in, like, snakes? New videos every Saturday and Wednesday. Sorry for being late on this one. I'm done moving. My apartment is beautiful now, and my mommy designed it because she's an interior designer. Like, comment, and subscribe. Don't bang cryptids unless you want to.